Look, moving on to Kate Middleton now, because she's still in the headlines due to the fact that the clinic where she was treated have suspended 3 members of staff after reports of attempts to view her private medical records. The hospital said all appropriate steps will be taken. Let's just say that, firstly, Kate is absolutely entitled to absolute privacy, and if that has happened, it's shocking and wrong, right? She has chosen not to be open about whatever health concern she has been dealing with the past few months, and that is her choice. But it did get us thinking about how open we choose to be about our own health, didn't it, Denise?
Absolutely. I mean, as those people who've watched this show for the 21 years I've contributed to it, will know that I personally am a very open book about everything that's wrong with me, sometimes to the point that the words too much information is when I have accidents on the streets of New York, as you all know. Yeah. But I've always been very open. But one of the things I find about some people who are very happy to be open about their physical medical records, hypothetically. We're not saying, would you show your actual records to people, just how open are you about your health? Some people are very open about their physical health, but they hide their mental illness and mental health problems. And I think that that's something that I've talked about since mine started, which is 35 years ago now, when I had Matty. And I had severe hospitalised postnatal depression, verging on a puerperal psychosis. And I found that I was the only person, and I was barely in the public eye. You know, I was sort of hovering above the public eye. But I made a decision to speak out about it because it's so detrimental that there is still a stigma about mental health.
Did you talk to Lincoln about your
When
depression?
I first got together with Lincoln, I was very open about my depression because, you know, with my husband Tim, the boy's dad, obviously, you know, there were reasons that led to our divorce. Obviously, we're still friends, but one of the things that he was incredibly supportive of was my mental illness. So it was important to me that Lincoln knew and understood, because he said he would have been one of those people that may have thought what she got to be depressed about, like many people who don't know about that condition. So I have nothing to hide.
Good communication in a relationship. Yeah, I think that's really healthy. Because, you know, I'm sat here like, that's so healthy in a relationship. I did the complete opposite with Richie.
Did you?
I told him absolutely nothing about my physical, you know, medical... Well, it's not health issues, but some of the things that maybe restrict my life, like functionally. And...
What's an example of that?
Well, I've got problems with my esophagus, my eyes, my respiratory system. You know, loads of different things have been affected functionally by my burns. And I chose not to tell him because I had been single for a long time and fine to look after myself, and I don't want my partner to look after me. And I felt like if I listed it, he'd think I'm about to drop dead if I don't come up with details. And we were 27. We were young, and that's at an age where you don't expect to be looking after your partner. But then, as we started to date, he would be a bit like, do you struggle to see on that side? And I'm like, why? And he's like, you're always bashing into this. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm like a kind of a little bit, you know, blind. And he's like, oh, right, OK. But, you know, I do live with the opposite problem of everywhere I go, people who I don't know will say to me, especially if I don't have my makeup on, what's happened to your face? You know,
just random strangers say that?
If I go into a newsagent's, you know, I'll try to pay for something, and whatever I'm feeling that day, I end up having to discuss something I wasn't prepared to discuss. But that's because it's an on-display thing.
But that doesn't explain it, though. I sort of feel like we're almost
people
living...
the right to say that.
No, because
people feel ownership of...
No, but I feel like we're living in a sort of era where people feel it is their right to find out everything they can about an individual. And Sophie Morgan's talked about this before, about when she's in her chair and she could be in a supermarket going up and down the aisles, and someone will randomly come up to her and say, oh, so why are you in the chair then? As though they have a right to find out her information.
Do you think social media has done this, especially with the...
Definitely.
Into the royal family as well? I think people do think that they have a right to know everything.
That's the issue, isn't it? I think one of the words for me that resonates in my head when I think about is the word choice. And I think it's, you know, what we see with going on with Kate is that there's, you know, Prince Kate, a lot of people trying to take away her choice. And I think, depending on what the situation is, you have the choice whether you want to disclose your medical history. But at the same time, you should, if it's something that could affect somebody else, you should give them the choice to know whether what they're putting themselves involved in.
I do.
So I think, you know, relationships, workplace, there's certain works that, you know, things are required to know about your medical history, and you should research and know that before you apply. And there's certain relationships, if it's a physical relationship, there's certain things that your partner might need to know. And if you are in a relationship and it's a long-term thing, I think you know, the age that I am, 40 plus, I think it's important, don't have to tell you exactly the number, let's keep it moving, baby. But I think it's important to have those conversations of, like, you know what, babes, this is how I'm feeling, or this is what I've had before. Because it's not just a thing of worrying about being dependent on someone, but it could be something so simple like you're out and something's not right, and it's an illness that actually they would need to know to tell the medical people that are helping you. So I think if we keep in mind, like I said, the word choice, the choice for whether you want to declare it, and actually giving somebody else the choice of whether they want to participate in this relationship or whatever it is you're doing, and knowing on both sides, I think that's what you've got to work with.